This is for Math 113. This is your first skills practice, and I'm going to walk you through it. So a skills practice consists of some skills you hopefully remember from previous math courses, such as converting percentages to decimals, that you'll need at various points in Math 113. These are skills that students consistently struggle with from semester to semester, so by practicing them each week, it keeps the information fresh in your head, as well as keeping you prepared for the final at the end of the semester. These skills can also include a few things I taught the first week of class, such as identifying the type of variable or the sample and population. I'm going to walk you through all the problems, and each week you're going to have the same type of problems, just slightly different numbers or slightly different scenario to them. The first time you do this, it might take you 15 minutes to get through the skills, but after that, it should get much more quickly each week as you keep these skills fresh in your head. You have 10 tries to get a perfect score if that's your goal. And honestly, I will give you more tries if you want them or need them, but I want you to talk to me first. I don't want you grinding your wheels and spinning out in frustration. If there's a problem you're stuck on, I will absolutely help you because I want you to understand that and be comfortable with these skills so that it'll make the bigger ideas of statistics easier to do. All right, so let's take a look at this first one. So each of these problems has a little bit of background knowledge. So if you don't remember linear equations from an algebra class or maybe middle school, all the information you're going to need is right here. And then it tells you what chapters you're actually going to be using this information in. So for the linear equations, we're really going to use this a lot when we're in chapters 4 and 5. So that's where you're going to see this show up. And so the reason I do that is that I think a lot of times with prereq skills and tests and things like that, students are like, I don't see how this is going to connect to the course. So I'm trying to give you a little bit of a clue here as to kind of where this is going to come in, and that I'm not just picking these problems to be mean or something like that, but they really do have a connection to what we're going to do. Right, so the linear equation has the form y equals mx plus b, which hopefully sounds somewhat familiar. The m, that's the number attached to that x there, where your independent variable is going to be your slope. And then the b, which is the number by itself, is going to be your intercept. So the first questions here ask us to identify the slope and the intercept in the following scenario. So it says the manager of a small nature park found the regression line for weekly profits P in dollars as a function of the number of visitors N. Okay, and so maybe this P equals 4N minus 2200 seems a little bit foreign looking since we're using different variables. But if I put Y equals MX plus B underneath of there, now I can kind of see how these line up. And so that N and the X are kind of functioning the same. And so my slope here is that number in front of the N, which is going to be a 4. So I'll put a 4 in this first box for the slope. And then the intercept is going to be this number by itself. And the one thing you do want to do is make sure you include this sign here. So this is a minus 2200. And so the answer I'm going to put in is a minus 2200 here. So I am going to include that negative sign. And then the next question says, if the park has 1,000 visitors, so in other words, if N equals 1,000, what are the predicted profits? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug 1,000 in for N here. And so I'll have 4 times 1,000 minus the 2,200. So that gives me 1,800. So that predicted value just means plug in the value for the independent variable and then simplify. So I'll put in 1,800 in here. All right, the next two questions have to do with converting percentages to decimals and decimals to percentages. So this is going to show up a lot in the second half of the course. So chapters 3, 15, 17, 20, and 21, so quite a bit. And so to convert a decimal to a percentage, we're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So if I take that and I move that over, that's where my decimal place is going to go, and that's where they're getting that 50%. So if I have 0.02, and I'll add some more zeros here, and I need to go 2 decimal places to the right, that's going to be right here. And so that looks like 2%. So this would be my answer here, is that 2%. And then vice versa, if I'm going from a percentage to a decimal, I'm going to go 2 places to the left. So I have this 1%, and so I can write that as 1.00, and I'm going to put some zeros on both sides. And then the instructions said to move it 2 spots to the left. So 1, 2, looks like there. So this looks like 0.01. So right there is our answer. Right, and then the last one here that should be hopefully some review knowledge is using inequality signs. So if you haven't heard this explanation before, this is how they taught it when I was a little kid. They called this an alligator mouth. And so they said the alligator is really hungry, so the alligator is always going to be eating the bigger number. So that side that opens up should always be on the side that's bigger. So if I'm looking between 5 and 40, 40 is the bigger number. So I'm going to turn the alligator mouth to eat the 40. And then I have 0.07 and 0.05. And so if you're not really comfortable with decimals, when I look at this, and if I thought about this as money, this one's 7 pennies and this one's 5 pennies. So the 7 pennies is a little bit more. And so I'm going to turn the alligator mouth the other way. All right, so hopefully these aren't super new information. Hopefully this does seem a little bit familiar. And then in the next video, we're going to look at some problems that we did this first week of class.